Riches in the Hitches, an RV park investment podcast, takes you behind the scenes of the RV park industry where park owners, investors, and other industry professionals share their unique journeys, challenges, and triumphs. From transforming raw land into a thriving campground to navigating the ups and downs of managing guests, this podcast uncovers the untold stories of the people who make RV life possible and the strategies behind building a successful investment. Whether you're a park owner seeking insights, an aspiring investor exploring opportunities in outdoor hospitality, an RVer curious about life on the other side of the check-in desk, or just someone who loves hearing entrepreneurial stories, we are excited for you to join us as we find riches in the hitches.
Welcome to Riches in the Hitches. My name is Robert Preston, host. Today we have Joey Locker, which I'm really excited to dig into his story. Joey is from Nashville. He is a graduate of the prestigious Walden University MBA, and he is the developer and founder of Locker's Southern View Luxury Motor Coach just outside of Nashville. Joey, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are excited to have you today. Excited to dig into it. I've got a ton of questions because I've got a ton of curiosity. You are our first motor coach, luxury owner developer, and you will be our first guest that I believe you're selling sites, right? That's
Yes, sir.
one of the business models. So we have a ton of questions about that. Really looking forward to digging into that. But before we do that, we want to go through our Unhitched quick connect round. I'm going to just throw out some questions. You answer them as fast as you possibly can. Very simple questions, and we'll see what we get. All right. So, Joey, where is the location of your park?
We're in Ashland City, Tennessee, about 23 minute drive from outside downtown Nashville by car and about an hour and a half boat ride to downtown Nashville.
Hour and a half boat ride. No one's ever given me a boat ride distance before. That's awesome. That's really cool. Okay. All right. How many sites?
We'll have 272. 260 will be lots, and then we'll have 12 cabins.
Okay. Awesome. How many pools?
Two. And then
pools.
a half a mile riverfront that you can also hang out on.
Wow. All right. And then what type of park? I think we've already probably this on the, but just tell us what type of park this is going to be.
We're going into the unique stage of the luxury motor coach resort. It's that
Okay.
it's that niche that's out there that many people are just now kind of coming around. I didn't come around to it. I didn't know it existed until probably 2020, like mid 2020, to know that these even parks existed out there.
Awesome. Okay. How did you find the deal?
This was a new development. This was this started out as 5 acres that I wanted to put a couple fifth wheels and our boats on to be able to have the lake life without lake life cost.
Yeah.
And in that time, I overheard at a friend's family over, we were chatting and they're like, oh, well, we own a couple RV lots. And that was the first time I'd ever heard someone say they owned an RV lot. And it was in Las Vegas Motor Coach Resort. And at that time, I just went obsessed and started learning everything that you could imagine about the industry. And finally said, I think I can do this. And
Awesome.
I've been doing it every day since.
So you bought the raw land.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. How are you financing it? Do you have debt? Do you have investors? Do you have partners? This is syndication.
Yep. So we've got debt and equity. When I first started out this, I'm a big person on not going to look for the money first. It's putting the plan and the idea and all this stuff together beforehand. So I did that first. I went and raised about $2.3 million to go buy the land. The property was around $3 million. And then once we closed on it and we started moving forward, then we went into a debt structure with a private equity firm.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for giving us the quick rundown there, Joey. Let's jump out of the business real quick and just learn a little bit about you. Are you a Nashville native, family man? Tell us what's your day job, so to speak, and how do we end up here building this ridiculously awesome RV park?
Man, I'm a family guy for sure, and that was more of a recent thing. I have a unique story in the fact that I didn't take the traditional route with children. 2020 came around, and we had an unexpected child, and we've been together ever since. But I grew up here just south of Nashville. I got out for a little bit, lived in Philadelphia for about 8 years, but this is kind of home. Grew up in this area, but Family 100%. And I've had a full-time career job this entire time, kind of going
Wow.
through this development where up till a couple months ago, I was working for a company called Latticrete International.
Okay.
They make your thin sets, grouts, and stuff like that for tile settings. And I ran a sales division for them for the Southeast, about 6 states for them. And then
Right.
more recently, back in November, I joined on with a local builder here that brought me on to be the sales director for a couple groups of his companies. So learning more in the day-to-day residential build side of stuff and
Right.
being able to kind of keep my ability to learn. That's what I look at every job is what I'm doing to learn. So I can also learn about building while I am building a resort. So
Right.
it's been great.
So right now you're still running full time. You got a full time profession, and you're developing this park.
Yep, solid. Man, I had this idea. The idea originally came to me in the summer of 2022 and 2020, sorry. And
Okay.
then the summer of 2021, it picked up really serious. And then February of 2022 is when I was like, I'm going to do this. This is stop talking about it and go kind of do it. You've got all these plans, put it together.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
You're correct me if I'm wrong. This is your first park.
Yep, it
First
is.
park, and
So,
that's a big jump. Go. That's a big jump.
So I've got a background. I grew up here, so I went to school at MTSU, and
Sure.
at that school, at the time, they only had I think maybe 6 schools in the nation that offered a degree in concrete construction management.
Okay.
So I went through that program. I've been working in the construction field since then, from skyscrapers to your residential builds, from some sector of it. And 2020, when we were all sitting at home,
Yeah.
because of COVID, I don't do well sitting at home. If I'm at home, I'm trying to find something else to kind of keep me busy and all that. And at that time, my now girlfriend and my mom of my son, she introduced me to her father, and her family has had the same RV spots in outside of Bloomington, Indiana, on Monroe Lake,
Okay.
that they've had for like 25 years now. And this
Okay.
is maybe a little 10 acre park that it's year leases. You bring your fifth wheel in and you put it on blocks and you leave it there until you upgrade.
Right.
You got a lot of fifth wheel campers in there, and a majority of the people in there don't even have a fifth wheel truck. So they literally get shipped in from the manufacturer, put in, they build around them. They're maybe a quarter of a mile from the lake to be able to drop their boats in. And I loved it. I was like, man, we spend most of growing up on the lake and water. Water's
Yeah.
my confidence booster in anything. So when I saw that, I was like, man, maybe we can go ahead and like grab a couple fifth wheels, put them, buy 5 acres, go ahead and have this
Yeah.
and be able to live this life. And got back to Nashville, and we started looking at RV parks that allowed long term stuff. So we can
Right.
maybe put a fifth wheel in there that could be rented out while we couldn't be there. And I started looking, and you just didn't see a lot of those parks around here, especially ones around water. I mean, you have
Right.
your short terms and stuff like that, but I was like, oh, well, let's just buy 5 acres and then we'll do this. And then at that time, um, my girlfriend introduced me to some of her friends, and her friends' parents were kind of overhearing us talking about it and everything, and they were like, "Oh, well, we own a couple RV lots," and I was like, "What do you mean? Like, what you own an RV lot? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you rent it year round? Like, oh no,
Yeah.
we own 2 in Las Vegas Motor Coach Resort." And they were like, "Yeah, lots in there are going from like 130 grand to like 1.3 million dollars," and I was like, "What? What are you talking about? This you're lying." So I looked up Las Vegas Motor Coach Resort. They've got 406 lots. The lots are, I mean, you've got some. I think now the highest lot in there is like 800K, but I mean,
Right.
insane. But it is. You just start looking through, and you're just like, what is this place? This makes no sense. You've got an HOA in there that's $500 plus. I think it's 575 now.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I looked at it and I was like, man, what is this? But you start looking at further, like, all right, what's the whole place? It's 40 acres, 5 minutes from Las Vegas Strip. It was a community. You got the clubhouses, you got the pools, you got the mini golf, you got all these little things right around Vegas. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And I was like, well, where are the rest of these resorts? Like, where are, like, I've never heard of this. So you see them in there in California, you see them in Colorado, you see them in Michigan, you see some in North Carolina and South Carolina, and then like 90% of them are in Florida. That's where the majority of them are. And I was like, well, where's the nearest one to Nashville? And we didn't have a single luxury option in the state of Tennessee when it came to the luxury side of stuff.
Really?
I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like, what do we have to offer? We've got Amhill Marina right here in Nashville, which is highly my favorite one out here. Four Corners is your next nice one. And then you've got some KOAs and stuff in Nashville North, but nothing that really catered to that luxury side. So I'm going around looking, and you start seeing things and you start paying attention, and then you just saw these coaches all sitting in the back of parking lots and the grocery store parking lots and stuff like that. And I just randomly went up and knocked on one of their doors one day. I was like, hey, why don't you guys stay here? Like, what's the point of this? They're like, well, there's not a lot of places to stay in Nashville for a coach, a 45-foot rainbow. And like, there's some, but we usually use Nashville as a stopping point, see it for a little bit, then we're out because nowhere to really stay. And then I just kept asking that question every time I saw someone with it. And I was taking a tour of Elmhill Marina one day, and if you can get out there and go the wrong way and get yourself in a predicament out there. And I saw that, and I was like, man, this is the nicest resort we have here in Nashville, and that guy, he can't come in here. Like, he's got problems if he goes the wrong way. I was like, it was at that moment I was like, I've got to figure out a way to do this. So and it's going to sound crazy, but I literally got on my phone, I Googled how you build an RV resort. And every day since then, I kind of just started going down it. Like, I business plan all this, and on like the third page of Google, I came across Matt Corrin, who is with Outdoor Design Group out of Colorado.
Yeah.
I'm looking through his website, and Matt and his team this is what they do. They help developers and investors build RV parks. They had not ever done an upscale one like this, but Matt was up for the challenge. And what Matt's team came with was, I mean, your feasibility study, your CapEx, your projections, I mean, everything that you could think of, his group could do. And then they also offered a third-party management side to help you get started and run things as well. So I was like, okay, that's how I'm going to prove it to everyone that I know what I'm talking about, because I brought a team together to be able to accomplish this and everything. Because in the beginning, when you tell people you want to build a luxury motor coach resort, and they're like, oh, you never built one of these before? I'm like, no, I've not built one of these. I've built plenty of things in construction, but I've not built one of these. The confidence isn't there. So you're like, okay, what builds confidence? And I believe a team is what builds confidence in things. And I started put them together and kind of started working through it. And my first thing that I did, and I encourage everyone to do this if you're going for anything big in a community, because I believe RV parks have an impact on the community in multiple ways. And if you're going to do something in a small community, you need to go to the community first. You need to even see if they even want this and whatnot. So I went to every economic director around Nashville, because I was like, all right, Nashville needs this. What do I need to do to kind of bring this alive? So went to talk to Davidson County. They're like, yeah, this would be great. Here's the hoops you need to jump through to do this in Nashville. It's like, okay, you guys don't want this. And you go to Williamson County or Wilson County and some of these other ones, and there wasn't a lot of excitement with it and whatnot. But right outside Nashville, the next county over is Cheatham County, and a little town called Ashland City. I went in and met with the economic director, JT, there, and sat down. I showed him what I wanted to potentially do and bring to the community. Man, he was excited. He was like, this is incredible. He goes, it just happened like the day before. He was like, we just announced that we want to see our future come from tourism and outdoors and recreation. I was like, let's go. Let's do it. So he even took me over to meet the mayor at that same day to introduce him with it. And the mayor loved it as well. So the community leadership got on pretty good. And we're backing it. I wouldn't say the same thing for the community in the beginning. That first community meeting had 150 people in it, easily 150 people. And it It was chaos. There was no organization. Luckily, the county got together, and the next meeting they were like, "Hey, we're not doing what we did the first meeting." 'Cause people were yelling. You could typically go up and you say your piece, and then you sit back down. Now they're pointing at people in the crowd, like, "You talk, you talk, you talk." And if you got something else to say, you can say it. You say something else after someone else says something. We were there for three and a half hours that
Isn't
first
it weird?
meeting, and
It's
I was
fascinating
terrified. I was like, "Oh, well, this isn't going to work." Like,
it
there's
makes
150 people here.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing. Like everyone wants to go to these places once they're built and be the customer, be the guest. But I don't know what it is. Like it's just an immediate negative reaction when you're trying to develop or build something. Really anything, but specifically, an RV park or RV resort like this, what you're gonna build is like top notch. Like there's, anyone would love to be there, but I just it's always baffled me when we show up to these things and it's just a
Well,
constant parade.
it's got a stigma. There's still a stigma around the industry
Yeah.
where a lot of people think of Cousin Eddie from the Christmas Vacation. Like that's in their mind when you're doing an RV park and stuff like that. And I noticed that early when I was kind of talking about it. People still reference trailer parks when you're talking about RV stuff, and I was like, okay, so y'all have a false kind of premise of what we're actually doing. So
Right.
that's where I was like, okay, we all need to visualize what we did. So I went and put renderings together and started hosting my own town halls. I'd rent out the little fire station and then tell everybody, hey, come in, yell at me. Look at what we're doing, but I want you to know what we're doing instead of just assuming what we're doing and just spreading a lot of the false lies that kind of came around with it. I mean, the lies that were made up about our project, like they even had a Facebook group against us. Like, it was insane. We've got so part of the history of the property is one of the big reasons I chose this one. But it's got a shell midden, which is the Cumberland River that we sit on used to produce mussels and shell life and all that. And the Indian culture in that area, instead of being farmers, they were fishermen. So they would bring out the mussels and the shell life and stuff like that, but they would pile it in an area. So we've got about a half an acre spot that's probably 7 foot deep of just shells. So
Really?
centuries of them just piling up shells on there. And it's in an area we couldn't really develop in any because it was a little lower. So when I found that, I was like, man, we can protect this. We can turn this into a park. We can tell the story that's through it because no one knew it was back there besides like the looters that have been back there and going through it and whatnot. So I was like, we can kind of protect this. But as soon as that was out there, like, oh, well, he's going to bulldoze thousands of bodies into the river when he starts doing stuff because that's just a huge burial ground. We know there's thousands of bodies out there. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the drug problems. One story I like to tell during one of the commission meetings. I made it a point. We went through rezoning for 6 months with this property, 1 month after another. And I started telling everyone, I was, look, if you have an issue, I'll be out in front of the courthouse 30 minutes before. Please come talk to me. Let's have a conversation about what I'm doing and all this. Well, I had one guy take me up on it. And he come up, he was like, man, we love what you're doing. This is great. This is going to be great for the community, all this. And I was like, awesome. He was like, man, will you say that inside? Like, I'd like to have more people on my side for this. I'm like, he was like, yeah, sure. So we go inside and it's going back and forth. I made sure that I brought people that supported us as well.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't all negative the entire time. So it was good, bad, good, bad. And then you had a couple bad in a row. And then he comes up and I was like, oh, all right, awesome. A good one. No, this dude gets up and he walks by me, gives me the thumbs, and then gets up there and he goes, Council, do you guys know what Mr. Locker's development is proposing? It's proposing boat docks and boat ramps. At one point we had boat ramps on there.
Yeah.
We got those off now, but he goes, do you guys know who uses boat docks and boat ramps? The cartel. The cartel is going to come up the river, make our drug problems worse in our community. And then when this is over with, they're going to take that resort from him. And then we have the cartel living in our community. The just audacity and just like everyone's face was like, what did you just, and my girlfriend sat beside me. She goes, isn't that the guy you just talked to outside? Didn't he say he liked this? And then he walks by me, gives me a thumbs up, and sits down. I'm like, dude, what just happened?
Oh man, there's some, yeah, development is a crazy story. I was going to start out, by saying my recommendation, when we're helping and coaching some people is like, probably you shouldn't tackle a development on your first try,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, you were doing that, so it's awesome. But I think those stories are one of those good indicators of why maybe going right off the bat and developing something brand new is not for the faint of heart.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, because wouldn't have expected this.
Hmm.
All the things that we've had to go through, because not only did this being my first development of this caliber and then going to the largest niche that we have in this,
Sure.
it was the regulation around it.
Yeah.
Being on a shipping channel that is ran by the
Hmm.
Army Corps, having wetlands on your property, having archaeological sites on there,
Yeah.
which comes with having to do a bat survey, having to do a mussel survey. Uh, there's a salamander that hangs out in that area that we may have to go look for and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that I don't know how many books or how many um, different people you could come in and help you during this that would have prepared you for any of this kind of stuff. So it
Right.
was learn early that to be able to pivot
Yeah.
and learn how to take it on the chin a little bit and find a way through it. I mean, you're gonna constantly run into hardships during these steps, regardless if it's a new resort or you're
Hmm.
coming in and redeveloping your own. You're gonna run into things that you're just like, how did that happen? And you have to like, all right,
Yeah.
breathe. What's the plan, the solution to kind of get
Yeah.
around? How do we pivot and still get what we wanted? Because the resort originally started out with like 417 lots,
Right.
and we've had to do 4 iterations of it just
Okay.
because of different things that kind of came up through this that you didn't know until you actually got in and did your surveys and did all
Right.
these things and whatnot. Because this is a 72-acre property that was nothing but trees and brush. There was one road in and one road out. So getting in there, getting a drone above it, you couldn't see anything. I mean,
Yeah.
it was almost
Use
impossible.
LiDAR, some type of like
Yeah,
LiDAR.
we finally used LiDAR to get in there to see some stuff with it. But once we opened it up, we went in and took out basically 8 inches and below and let
Okay.
it breathe. And because I don't want to, last thing I want is going in and bulldozing all the trees and we just have a
Yeah,
park.
for sure.
Trees are like, I'm protecting what I can within
Yeah.
it. But
So wrapping up the kind
oh
of
yeah,
development phase of for where you're at, I do have a specific question. You
yeah.
mentioned that I think something's really important there, maybe a great takeaway for the rest of us. So you're going to face opposition, no doubt, right? Any park, no matter what the quality is. Again, like when you guys go look at Joey's website, which is lsvmotorcoachresort.com. I mean, this is class A, top notch stuff, right? So, did you see a difference? What was the difference when you started providing renderings and a vision? Was there any difference? Did you change any hearts and minds, so to speak?
100%. It was, oh, I didn't know that's what you're building.
Okay,
We thought you were gonna put trailers out there and mobile
like,
homes and stuff out
yeah,
there. Not. And with the fact that like when I told you back in 2020, like I didn't know this existed.
right,
Still to this day, there may be 5-10% of people in the United States that know this caliber of resort that is out
right,
there because there's according to Jim Wolf's website, he's got a upscale RV resort, upscale RV resorts.net.
okay,
On there, list all your top ones that are in the country, and he's only got 42 on that list that are
yeah,
considered upscale and luxury.
okay,
And going into the luxury side we want, I mean, there may be 5 or 10 in the country that are what we want to be in that
sure,
category of it. So not many people know about it. So those
yeah,
renderings, people were like, "Oh,
yeah.
that's oh, okay. We didn't know that's what you're kind of doing." So they really saw that vision. That's
Yeah,
what.
and so we've took our licks and learned your way too. And so even having yours has got like 3D walkthroughs and videos and stuff, which is really great. But I would highly suggest to anyone out there, maybe 2,000-3,000 bucks, you can get a pretty decent rendering
Oh yeah,
of a site.
Fiverr. You can get them cheaper than that. Like
Yeah,
I don't know if you use Fiverr.com, but I use it.
Fiverr. Yep.
because I like to do, I don't know. I don't want to pay
You got to have
$1,000.
something, right? You got to have a vision that I mean, even for the team on your side, right? It's a lot easier to go to the contractor builders and say, here's the actual engineering plans, but also here's what we're trying to build. So, great tip there, Joey. So tell us where you're at now. Where today? It's January. What's happening at the property? What's going on?
So we have local approval. We got state approval 2 days ago, and then
Awesome.
Wednesday I go for our final meeting with the Army Corps to get federal
Right.
approval. So we're shooting to be able to break ground in March, April time, right after winter gets through and crappy weather. But that's the goal for now. And I try not to give hard dates on anything now, because you will have a government official look you dead in the eyes and tell you, yeah, we'll have this for you. And then 4 months later, still not have it. So
Then how long do you think will take for construction?
we're probably looking 16 to 18 months for phase one. We'll do it. We'll have roughly 172 lots in phase one of the project, and then phase two will then bring in another 100 lots with another clubhouse.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry. If you're willing to share, can we talk about some numbers? Can we talk about business plan?
100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, we talk a lot about in the show and underwriting and stuff. So let's first start, like, what's the big picture model here? Will you be selling off all the sites? Are you going to keep some rental? Is there going to be a rental pool? Just talk us through both the business model for you as the owner, and then maybe we can switch and say, is there a business model for the future owner or the future site owners?
Yeah. So 272 lots. I mentioned 12 of those are going to be cabins. Then 50 of those lots will be rental lots that we'll have as ownership of the resort. Those will just be your basic lots and everything that you see. And then the other 110 lots in phase one will all be ownership lots that owners will come in, do your outdoor kitchens, your pavilions, your patio setups. We've got 3 model lots for people to really get the vision of what we're kind of going for. But by all means, we want people to go custom as they want. And we've got some parameters, because this is set up under an HOA. Since we're actually selling those lots, this is basically set the same way a luxury neighborhood is set up. HOA, you got a board, you have all those things that are coming together to kind of to make the project work. So we'll also have a management company that will oversee the overall project, that will run the day-to-day operations and stuff that are in there for it. So go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So those owners who buy a site, they're going to there's probably some type of architectural review board or something. But once they buy the site, so that it'll have concrete pad, it'll have the water, sewer, power connections, it'll have the roads and everything in place, and then they're going to build out the outdoor kitchens or the casitas or something along. Is that the plan?
Yep. So you buy a lot. We've got a brokerage team on our team, which is probably one of the bigger parts of going luxury and selling these lots in this. But we'll sell those. Lisa Hernandez she's with View Properties. She is our broker in charge for this. So owners will come in, meet with Lisa, pick out their lots and everything, and then we've got stuff set up with an outdoor design company that owners will then come in and sit down and do their build outs, kind of tell the budgets and everything with it. Each individual lot that we give an owner will have roughly 1,400 square foot of papers already there. So they'll get the pad, a little sitting area, but then they'll be able to add on to with your landscape packages and stuff like that. But owners will also, when they buy it, they have that option of going into a rental program for it that's ran by the management company, and there'll be a 70-30 split back to the owner for those lots.
And do you anticipate, like, is the ideal scenario here where that owner comes in and buys now, kind of a pre-sale, picks it out, and then, if they're going to build the outdoor bar and kitchen, that just gets built as the property
as we're going along.
Okay,
so we're going through some pre-sale stuff now, just to get people on a list and have them save their spots. And that was a proof of concept side of stuff as well. It's like, hey, I need to show to this private equity firm that I actually know what I'm doing and that people are interested in this. So those early deposits and stuff for people to it was a $5,000 deposit to hold your spot in line to pick out your lot once you open it and whatnot. So that doing that, the bank, the private equity firm, when we had to ask for a couple of extensions through this program because we didn't we originally planned to break ground last August, and we still haven't. So with that, doing some of these pre-sale stuff and whatnot, it showed them that, hey, all right, this will work. We just got to get through these next steps.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is it's becoming a more and more popular model. I mean, particularly I see this a lot in Texas. Where a developer comes and builds the sites, and then the sites are resold, right? As you're saying, via an HOA or whatnot. So, but there's definitely a couple different ways that I've seen the sales happen. One is what I would call the big tent, the big event sale, where there's a whole bunch of people that are invited there for a couple weekends.
Those are wild. What they did at was it Firefly? Firefly. Man, that group is in. I don't know. Have you met that group and talked about? Dude, it's the craziest thing. I'm baffled by their story and how they kind of do it. Yeah. They're doing one in Florida here in February. We're trying to go down to it, but I've heard stories and watched some of the video clips of how it's done. That's an awesome business model. Is
that how you will sell it, or what's your method?
No, I don't. I feel like you don't have to do this because you're in a niche bubble of the Class A and Super C owners and stuff like that. And with us raising capital the way we are, we don't have to force it to have to reduce prices and stuff like that. And we've got the interest in Nashville. I mean, it's
a phenomenal location.
It's coming. So it's I had a guy that's on our private equity team. He was talking me off the cliff. I was trying to figure out how to navigate some of these things that kind of were thrown at me, and we're just chatting with him, and he was like, man, you guys just need to build it and they'll come. He goes, just keep moving forward. Don't stress as much, but just keep moving forward. So it kind of gave you that confidence.
So that's, what you mentioned there, I think is a really important point for us to dig into. You have Firefly, you have, there's the idea of condoing a place and selling. It's not that unique and new. Very interesting model. I'm very curious, personal opinion, very curious to see what the longevity of that plan is. But that's still a different customer than you're targeting. Who is your target customer? And can you describe them?
So what I found in the your Class A and your motor coach side of stuff, you're typically 55 plus. That's it's going down now, especially since 2020, with the realization that we don't have to be in office to work all the time.
Right.
They can work on the road and they can travel and do all this. So you're seeing younger people get into it. But typically 55 and up, you're fluent. White collar owners is what you're typically seeing in this as well with it. But to be able to purchase a lot and afford some of these motor coaches that are in the millions and millions of dollars.
So you're literally if I pull in there with my travel trailer, what happens?
So we're a Class A and Super C only. Yeah.
Class A, Super C. Yeah. And I'm sure you probably have a minimum age.
We have a 10-year rule. The 10-year rule is more of a to make sure that no one's coming in with a Cousin Eddie Class A.
Yeah.
It's
there's
nice.
Plenty of 2005 Prevos that are going.
Oh, and they're insane.
Yeah. So okay. So excuse me. Yeah. So you're sorry. So you're your target customer. These are not. They're probably going to vacation a little bit once in a while, and they're not living in their Class A's. This is your typical rig is probably like $500,000 to $2 million rig.
Yeah.
That's
typically what you're kind of running to. And at the first, it was just going to be just Class A motor coaches, but I also saw through the last couple of years of where Super C's have gone to. And I'm I love the race community, all of it together. So seeing where the Super C community has gone and stuff like that, they're in the same level as some of these Class A's and stuff. So
for sure.
And I'm not going to turn down a NASCAR guy that wants to come stay at the resort. That's for sure.
So, and I think that is, it's pretty easy to visualize that rig, right? We all know what that rig is going down the road. That's no problem. Um, of course, there's really, really nice fifth wheels and all this type of stuff, and people, you got $100,000 F350 and pulling it, right? So it's not as if there's there is a difference, but I
Oh,
think
there's a difference, which is
yeah,
crazy part about this. And I actually just had this conversation with someone the other day, because when I originally started out, it was going to be Class A, Super C, and luxury fifth wheel as well. Because
yeah,
I was like, man, some of these luxury fifth wheels are awesome and they're nice. You got $350,000 trucks.
yeah,
You got $500,000 setup right there and whatnot. And it's just they're different people. They're
yeah,
completely different. The way they approach things, with the industry, like with the guys with your fifth wheels, they're like me. I love my truck. I'm a truck guy. I want
yeah,
comfortable, want stuff. So having to get rid of my truck to go into another vehicle, I understand that. But when it comes to the Class A and stuff, it's just a different
yeah.
mentality. And
So
they actually didn't get along as much as you had
yeah,
Class A people that came and toured the property and whatnot, and that was in the beginning stage. They're like, so you're gonna fifth wheels in here? I'm like, yeah. What's and I was naive. I didn't know why you wouldn't want fifth wheels in there, and it was just different things that were coming off of that. And
yeah,
then you start thinking about the resort itself, and like your fifth wheels, your pinch points. You need to have some of your pull through lots and stuff. So
right.
we kind of pivoted from that and really focused on that, like just higher echelon of.
You're gonna get some fifth wheel hate mail now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I love fifth wheels. That's what I've grown up in and
Yeah,
whatnot. I actually had one at one point and we sold it just to raise some money. So
nice,
it
nice.
was
So what do you think, as maybe you've done some feasibility studies or done some underwriting here, what is your expectation for the number of owners that will put their site back in the rental pool versus the number of owners that buy the site and they have it there and they just use it, and when they're not there, they don't use it? Do you have a percentage that you're using for underwriting and for running your numbers?
yeah. So what I did, where I mentioned a little bit ago, the broker that we
Yeah,
have. So back to where I said that I Googled how to build RV resorts when I first
right.
started this idea to where we're at. And a part of building that team was what I didn't know is how do you sell an RV lot?
Hmm.
And I interviewed no less than 30 real estate agents here in Middle Tennessee, from phone calls to actually sitting down with them and all that through it. And it was just over each one of their heads. It was this, and the selling strategy was the exact same from every single one of those real estate agents. Was, hey, I've got a list of Rolodex our company does. We'll just go
Hmm.
through that. I was like, man, I don't think it's gonna work. So I reached out to Lisa Hernandez. So Lisa Hernandez and her husband have a podcast that I was listening to during the
Okay.
whatnot, and I was just trying to learn more and more about it. And finally, after that last interview, I was just frustrated. I was like, man, if I don't figure out how to sell these, I'm not going to be able to pull this off. So I
Yeah.
ended up just calling Lisa on the. I found her email and her phone number, and I called her and told her the idea, and she had just happened to be leaving Nashville that day. And I told her I was doing. She goes, Joey, like we've talked about, we love Nashville.
Yeah.
We can't figure out why there's not been one here yet. Like this makes no
Okay.
sense for having all this. And I was like, well, I'm looking for someone to help me sell it. And so I went up, interviewed her at Hilton Head Motor Coach Resort, and we started having some of those conversations about how to properly do some of this. And one of the questions was how many people at Hilton Head are in the rental program that they do. And at
Okay.
Hilton Head, they had roughly 50% of the owners that were in the rental program as well that they did it. So some of the other resorts, you're seeing some in the 60% to 75% are in there, and you're seeing more people put it into that program depending on their needs, because a lot of people they'll own multiple of these lots around the country, and they'll go and stay in it a month at a time, and then no one will use it for the other 11 months out of the year.
Right.
But I've done most of my numbers off of 50% of them.
About 50%. Okay. Excuse me. So, if you're willing, like,
Yeah.
what do you expect what are your pricing? What do you expect that you'll be selling lots for?
So lots will start. Our initial interior lots will start around 250, and that'll come with your easement, landscaping, a full pad, not a concrete pad. We're doing
Pavers.
pavers, through the entire thing. And then those will be your interior lots, and then lots along the river, you'll get up into the 425, 450 range for that.
Yeah, because I mean, again, I'm looking at the location. You're right on the river.
Oh yeah, with half a mile riverfront on the front side, and then that right side we've got what's called Pond Creek that's over there. That kayaking, all kinds of things that you could do in there, fishing and everything, right off the main channel.
Yeah, so long as you can keep the cartel pirates off.
That's it. That's what we're hoping to be able to do. They've not come talk to me yet, but we're waiting.
It's a major cartel shipping line there in East Tennessee running down the river. Yeah. It's a bit of, I don't know if they've looked at the map, but it's a bit of a boat ride from there down to South America. You can do it, actually.
You can, and that's something I found out about this when I bought it, is that, I mean, you can literally take a boat, and they do it. There's I was out there doing a tour with a gentleman that flew in to see the property and the project and everything, and we're sitting there, and a cruise ship comes down the river right in front of us, and I'm like, where did that come from? I didn't know that even happened. But there's a cruise ship that goes from Memphis to Nashville a couple times a week. I'm like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
That is crazy. Yeah, so the Great Loop, right, which is the loop that goes up down the Intercoastal Waterway. It drops out right here in Mobile, close to Pensacola. The loopers stop in Pensacola very often, but
I'm on the Loopers Facebook group and watch all of that because they come through Nashville as well.
Exactly.
And they talk about it. So yeah, I love it.
Okay. So you got a site, sell, basically starting point around 250, seller upgrades it. What do you expect the, nightly rate to be?
So I think in year one, you're going to probably be around 150 to 175, and then you'll we'll try to match a lot of, and it's crazy to even say that out loud, is match some of the prices you're seeing in Nashville already. Like the KOA is charging, you can get $150, $170 over there to stay at the KOA.
Sure.
So matching some of that, the industry, and then kind of control growth up from there as well, and trying to see where we fit in the market for this. We feel like we're going to be a little bit higher than the average in the area by year two, but it'll be in the normals that you see around the country.
Awesome, man. This is exciting. I can't wait to come visit if you'll let me in. I do have a Class A.
Well, I have cabins too, so you can bring everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
go. And that was the big thing with me, is like, I don't have a Class A. I don't have the money to buy one of these. I can't even buy a lot in here yet. Like I'm still working a day job. So it's a thing where taking that into mind and that side of it, it's like, how do I get everyone involved? Like, I want to go into the upper class and stuff, but how do I still give other people that opportunity to feel like they are a part of this? So that's where the cabins really came in.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of people that they want to go outdoors, they want to go camping, they want to go do these things, but they just don't know how to yet, or they're just so scared. So it was like, the cabin would be a great way to introduce people to this community, to what's going on. And then my hope and dream would be that one day that someone comes in, they stayed there at the cabins, they come back 20 years later, and they're like, man, you and your group is the reason I got into camping in this, and now I'm coming back to buy a lot or something. Like, give someone that opportunity to see what I see about the outdoors, and
because really this is still a family friendly park. It's not like a 55 plus park,
No. So I mean, it'll be open to everyone. Just your typical buyer in your Class A stuff is typically at 55 and up.
Yeah. So disposable income.
Yeah, disposable income, because this is
disposable.
You're
time.
Not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. We love traveling as a family. We've got our Class A and pull the truck behind it, and the reason we have a Class A is because
you've got kids.
You have kids. It's the only way to travel. Like, so they can take naps, they can eat sandwiches,
Yeah.
they can go to bed. I don't have to take 400 bathroom breaks.
Oh
I can
yeah.
actually get somewhere on a timeline, which is pretty great. So, man, this is an exciting project, Joey. Any other, like what do you see as your biggest opportunity and biggest threat?
Biggest opportunity is just, man, the future is the opportunity, man. There's so much opportunity out here, and taking advantage of it, because I believe it just takes a little bit of effort and
Yeah.
going for what you're doing. And we live in the age of information. There's
Hmm.
nothing you cannot learn on the internet. There's nothing.
Mm.
And there's nothing you can't build. There's nothing that they don't have a YouTube video over it to do it. So the
Amen.
excuse of, I can't learn this, like this is too hard, like I I don't listen to it anymore. I'm like, you
Yeah.
just have not put in enough effort because you've got all the information from that. So I think the opportunity is just seeing it and jumping on it. Here in Middle Tennessee, Nashville's got, I mean, the influx of people that are coming in,
Yeah.
it's nuts. And it's not going to slow down. Our growth that we're seeing here in Middle Tennessee is where a lot of opportunity is opening up, because the city is finally taking advantage of the river. I mean, we're
Yeah.
putting just
Yeah.
billions of dollars into it at this point, and it's coming up the river towards us, and we want to be able to be there and ready and prepared to keep our area as that
Right.
outdoors country kind of feel. Um, and I think the biggest threat, and I don't look at, it's hard to, I look at life optimistically. So when it comes to threat situations, it's like, where's the positive side of that threat?
Yeah.
Like, where are these things in? I've
But you got to
gone
do your
through,
SWOT analysis. You're an MBA, right?
yeah, that's it. So I don't know, the threats would all come from government oversight.
Mm.
I think that's probably my biggest threat through all of this, because if you're working with the government agent, and that's where I understand where developers are like, man, if I don't have to deal with the government, I want to stay away from them. And this being a bigger project that I took on, and not knowing the exact ropes of what I needed to
Yeah.
do with this, it was you went after it and you just went head first into it. And I'm a believer
Yeah.
that you've got to get the community and the leaderships and all these people on board, and you're not going to be able to do this without talking to people. So go
Yeah.
talk to as many people as
Well,
possible.
yeah, I mean, you mitigated that threat by shopping the counties effectively. You found the
Yeah.
county that's most favorable. You saw that as one of your biggest threats, right? Is things that are out of control, government intervention, policies, et cetera. And you went shopping. You found the county that's willing to work with, and so you've already
Reduce
mitigated
your
it to some
risk.
extent.
You reduce your risk a little bit
Yeah.
by getting the people involved that are going to help make the decisions along the way. Because if they don't get on, I've got some other buddies that are developing, and they've not taken the same approach of getting
Yeah.
the best side of the community and stuff like that. And not, sorry for my language, but they're going through hell with it.
Yeah.
I noticed that early. I was like, man, I will be, I'm an open book to anybody. I'm
Sure.
not hiding anything, because if you're going to judge me on something, you're judging me off the truth I gave you, more than
Yep.
like, hey, well, you didn't give me enough information. Now I'm going to give
Sure.
you more than you probably want.
That's awesome. All right, Joey, let's wrap up. We'll got a couple just questions as we end today's podcast. So one of our models here, one of our themes here is, right, the idea of disconnecting to reconnect, right? That's the name behind the Unhitched brand, right? It's the idea of kind of getting somewhere, unhitching in your case, maybe unhooking in the Class A motorhome, and then reconnecting to those things that are important: your family, your faith, the ground itself, right? Nature. So what is it that you do to kind of disconnect and reconnect to those important things in life?
So, I was asked a similar question a couple years ago, and it had me thinking about just like how I go through life and everything,
Mm.
and about kind of separating work and life and stuff like that. And I've never liked that my mentality. I like the mentality of like, I want it all together. I want my
Yeah.
family, I want my work, I want my friends
Yeah.
at work to know my family. I want everything to kind of go together, so that when there's a conversation about work or family, everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows
Right.
about those things, so that I can intermingle them. So, and being in this industry of the outdoors and recreation is like, man, you're always on vacation, man. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm always talking to people that are just happy people, and being around happy people just makes things a little bit easier. So with my disconnect, it's always like going traveling with my family, like
Traveling.
going and seeing different countries, different cultures, because
Yeah.
if you can really learn from other cultures and have some appreciation for it, I think it gives you appreciation for your own life.
Man, that's wise. And because we're in the hospitality industry,
Yeah.
it's actually a tax write-off. It's a business
There
trip.
you go.
Every vacation is a research project.
That's it.
Okay, awesome. Um, and then just last question is, how can people connect with you? How can people, if they're a motor coach owner and they're looking for probably the most, I mean, definitely the best place in Tennessee, right? How can
Yeah.
they connect with you? How do they get a hold of you?
So we've got our website, which is lsvmotorcoachresort.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and
Okay.
TikTok. But at any time anybody wants to talk to me, my email is joeylocker@gmail.com.
Okay.
I'd be glad to talk to anyone. I get excited talking about this industry, helping people through this, because there's not a there's not a book on developing. I don't there's really no way to really know how to do all this stuff. So if you've got questions, I called hundreds of people through this
Yeah.
and talked to people that are billionaires that have done similar things through this, and they've talked to me. You'd be shocked at how many people are willing to talk to you through your ideas and your
Right.
passions, and won't judge you off of them. So take that leap of just talking to the person you want to talk to. Talk to the people that are doing what you're doing.
A lot of people are doing what you're doing.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you, Joey. Well, we'll wrap up this session. Please follow us. Please, reach out to Joey. Let him know that this episode was helpful. It was certainly very helpful to me, Joey. So thank you for that, and we'll talk to you next time.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.